With it being Halloween, you'd probably expect a spooky topic for a video on representations of the typical iconography within Dragon Ball. But the core of the holiday and its equivalents is as a celebration of departed souls, or for their return depending on your culture's equivalent. So what better of a topic than that of death in Dragon Ball? And, contrary to what many believe, why it matters to the story. I've mentioned in a past video what I'd consider the 4 golden rules of character resurrections to be written well, being to have some theological or cosmological impact on the setting, have concise rules or limitations, having a narrative purpose for bringing the character back, or having an impact on a character's mindset. The first two go hand in hand, with the Buddha or Taoist afterlife being a major aspect of the setting and narrative from the Saiyan arc and onwards, as well as helps further elaborate on the mechanics involved. Though many view the Dragon Balls as a reset button of sorts, Earth's Dragon Balls have the clear rule that one revived by them cannot be more than once, with Toriyama having the sense to know such limits were necessary for the stakes to remain high with this plot device. On top of that, they initially can't restore a body that has been drastically decomposed. Kami also confirms in the following arc that a bulk revival can only bring back those who lost their lives within the year, which adds a time limit depending on how events unfold, and are relevant in Sunar's village not being brought back. When the Namekian Dragon Balls are revealed to be able to revive someone any number of times, this is balanced out by each life returned being its own individual wish, and an additional point concerning Kuririn's demise and Goku's assumed destruction. As shown prior, a soul is merely brought back to where their body perished, or where it currently is, which doesn't help if within somewhere they wouldn't be able to survive. The Cell arc also has Dende upgrading the Dragon Balls, which does remove the necessity of preserving the body, but that's the only bonus added to them in terms of preserving someone, and New Namek only being found thanks to Goku working with Kaiô shows why it wasn't an option for Trunks in his timeline. It's with the Majin Buu arc, where we get some of the best clarification on some previously established mechanics concerning souls. It was established back during Ji-Chan Gohan's battle against Goku that one judged worthy to retain their body after death can return to the mortal realm for one day only, and then reiterated during Goku's return in the Buu arc, and even if taken into account the 9th DBZ film where Goku broke the rules, that was only enough time for him to sucker punch Bojack and give Gohan a pep talk. This can only be done through Baba helping them travel between dimensions, with where they end up being purely her decision based on where they've said. Again, this adds to why future Goku couldn't simply come back to prepare Gohan, as Baba would either be at too much of a risk to have them reunite, or already be a victim to 17 and 18. Perhaps the biggest addition to life after death in Dragon Ball presented in this arc is Goku confirming that one whose body is destroyed while not living will have their soul destroyed too, which keeps the stakes high, despite this being a part of the story where the Namekian Dragon Balls have essentially become Earths, but with unlimited respawns. After all, reviving someone any number of times isn't going to help if one who can attack the afterlife and godly realms isn't stopped. There are issues maintaining the same stakes in later spin-offs when it comes to villains incapable of interdimensional travel, but as far as the original manga is concerned, the mechanics are very consistent, as is the balance between boons and checks. Though all of that may have been obvious to those who have a perfect memory of the manga's events, the biggest question is how exactly does death affect characters through or in spite of this? There are obvious cases such as how the rules of the Dragon Balls affect how much losing another affects them, but things may become hazy for some when concerning those revived, even leaving aside many being merely the logical after effect of wishes, either the situation of being brought to Otherworld, or given the time to consider things they wouldn't have the chance to in their standard setting, add to their character arcs. To go over how some of the audience may consider death in the series to be the equivalent of a training camp, let's look at 2 examples that are often viewed as such. Goku in the Saiyan arc, and Piccolo in the Frieza arc. Through his journey across Snake Road, Goku is given the time to consider and accept his Saiyan origins that he vehemently denied prior, and it can be argued that the threat of falling off the road acting as an allegory for right-mindedness helped temper this enlightenment. These result in not just the spiritual nurturing of Kaio's tutelage being something he returns from death with, but becoming far more attuned to his nature, which helps set him on his character arc of embracing and refining it for the rest of the series, at least more than had been done prior. Piccolo's arc is something I've already covered in a prior video, with the spiritual principles of Kaio's Shugyo, helping him come to terms with his newfound Namekian identity after having shared his demon nature fully, to the point he becomes someone embracing his Namekian heritage and valuing his earthly life when revived. In both cases, the characters don't only die and come back physically, but have an ideological ego death and are reborn in a sense. Perhaps the most blatant case of a character's arc being impacted by both death and resurrection would be Kuririn, and not for the old joke of him dying the most. Unlike standard cases, those slain by a Mazoku would have their souls wander the earth, and Goku saved Kuririn and others from a fate worse than most other deaths. Kuririn is so indebted to Goku from this that a clear shift in his goals as a martial artist occurs from there on. No longer does he strive specifically to view his friends such as Goku or Yamcha as a benchmark, but pushes himself primarily to support them, as his best friend did for him, leading to Kuririn playing a crucial support role in the Saiyan and especially Frieza arcs. What is perhaps the most beloved of such cases though is easily Vegeta's final explosion, though many seem to gloss over what makes it such an impact. Beyond Vegeta's general character arc, it's made clear to Vegeta that he would have his soul cleansed and be reincarnated after death for the crimes he'd committed. This not being something that could be undone at that point, with only Goku able to get to New Namek, and on too strict of a time schedule to do so. This is perhaps the most courageous case of a main character laying down their life in the second part of the manga, when losing their identity through reincarnation is as true a death as can be in the series, and would have been the end for Vegeta, if not for the escalation of Buu forcing Enma's hand when he is finally revived. This also acts as proof of character growth, in being judged worthy of not being evil, from his actions against Buu having shifted the karmic scales. Though the rules of the Dragon Balls prevented Vegeta from being revived prior, make if he could be brought back if not for having been so already debatable, it most likely wouldn't, with Vegeta before his sacrifice being one more than willing to get rid of others' lives if they annoy him or to prove a point, compared to one who had such an epiphany on his identity through observing Goku and reflecting on his actions that they now bring guilt to him. It's for these reasons that, despite Dragon Ball being a series in which death can be revoked in each arc, the rules behind the Dragon Balls and Otherworld, impact events have on the characters, and its spiritual framework of physical death not being the end, that the series works through having resurrection be commonplace, while keeping stakes high, so long as it's the original manga, as works such as Super struggle keeping things balanced. Thank you for having watched through this analysis. See this playlist for more, subscribe to assure you see the next one ASAP, and if wanting to see a video touching on a few resurrection and reincarnation aspects that I didn't wish to reiterate here, and don't mind the poorly aged audio quality, perhaps you'd like to view this Buu arc analysis in specific on how its climax was far more masterful than it gets credit for.